Steve, did you end up with a Toyota pickup?
Yes, I did.
You like it?
I like it a lot. It's been very reliable. It has ample power to pull my trailer with. I think I got one now. I got the I'm not sure exactly what they call it, club cab or whatever, but the back seat is enormous.
Good.
I've got almost as, when I fold the seats up in the back of the cabin, I've got almost as much storage inside the cabin as I have in the bed.
You mean in the trailer?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
no, in the bed of the pickup.
Oh, in the bed of the pickup.
Yeah. So anything that I need to have protected from the elements, of course, I've got a cover on the bed anyway, but anything I need to cover, use to cover, have more secure, I can put inside the inside the truck.
Hi, Barbara.
Good morning, guys. How are you?
Good.
Hi, Kit. I see you down there.
BJ, you don't need your mask at the beach. Morning, Mike. You're
Looks
on
like
mute.
Michael has had some more work done on his proboscis.
I know.
Yes. It's, yeah.
Does it hurt?
Only when I touch it.
Oh, then
when
don't
Betty
touch it.
backhands him.
Don't touch it.
Did they do a skin graft, Mike?
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
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 Hi,
Hey,
Ellie.
Carolyn.
Hi, Barney.
Good morning. Oh, smoker.
Okay, the clock struck 7. I let you all hear it. And now we're going to go to my screen and bring up Cole Adamson, who is our Rotarian of the day. So Cole, take it away. Can you all see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay, could you see the screen? Did I have it up?
Not so far.
Yeah, and does Cole know she's on mute?
No, sorry, I got it now. It was just taking a
Okay.
second. I was clicking it and it wasn't unmuting. All right, guys, so we're gonna start off with our pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United
States of America. All right, ready?
Cole, I can't hear anything.
Yeah, Cole?
I stopped. I'm sorry. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, I stopped. I couldn't. There was background noise, and so I didn't know if we were ready or not.
Oh, yeah. If everybody would please mute their sound so that we don't have any feedback. Thank you.
All right, guys. I'm going to go ahead and start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And then I'm going to go into our prayer. I do a little devotional every day, and so I decided to go ahead and pull the prayer from that. So we'll start with that, if you'll bow your heads. Just for today, help me God, that my life is a gift, that my health is a blessing, that this new day is filled with awesome potential, and that I have the capacity to bring something wholly new and unique and good into this world. Just for today, help me God to remember to be kind and patient to the people who love me and to those who work with me too. Teach me to see all the beauty that I so often ignore and to listen to the silent longing of my own soul. Just for today, help me God to remember you. Let this be a good day, God, full of joy and love. Amen.
Thank you, Cole. Okay, Megan, our Sergeant at Arms.
All right. And yeah, I do want to make sure, I'm going to reiterate, if everybody can go on mute. I think we have a few people, maybe one or two, so please check your phones. I don't want to call anybody out. I'm sorry. Joan, can you make sure that you're on mute? I think that's who I see that wasn't on mute. So if anybody else can just make sure you're on mute, unless you're talking, of course.
I can
Unless
mute
you're
them,
talking.
so.
Okay, great. All right. So good morning, everybody. It looks like obviously we have some visitors, and I think, Barbara, you said afterwards we're going to have maybe them introduce themselves after we go through the other things. Is that correct? Okay. So we'll get to our guests in just a minute. Let's do birthdays or anniversaries. Do we have any this week?
Yeah, this is Tim. I guess today is my Rotary anniversary, 5 years.
Ah, nice. Congrats.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else? Birthdays, anniversaries? Wow, everybody's real. Yeah.
Megan,
I got one.
Steve
hold on.
Steve Kerr reminded me of my Rotary anniversary. And just to share with you guys, actually, it's 53 years this month.
Wow. Wow, that's Don Wasson, right?
Right.
Awesome. 53 years in Rotary. Is that right? Wow. All right, Barney.
Yeah, I just wanted to let you know, even though it wasn't in the fundraiser, tomorrow is the 55th anniversary of Ellie's and my first date.
Wow. Oh, did you take her to ice cream? What did you do?
We'll do what we usually do. We'll stay home.
No, I mean on your first date, what did you do?
Oh,
Special.
we went to a drive-in movie, believe it or not.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was a documentary on brain surgery in Africa. Honest Injun.
All right.
Here's the highlight. It was at Fort Leavenworth, Kansas,
Oh, gee.
near 5 different prisons.
That's great. Oh, nice. Well, congrats. All right. Did I see anybody else raise their hand? I'm looking at all the pictures. Anybody else? All right. How about Happy Bucks?
I have a happy buck. My daughter did not do very well with her self-control last year in pre-K, so we were really worried about her going into kindergarten this year. And the teacher sent home progress reports for all the students, and she had no recommendations. She said that Emma is a wonderful student, and she could not ask for a better one. So we were very excited because we were worried, but she's doing great. So that's awesome for us.
That's great.
I have one.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm like the weird sports fan. It really doesn't matter to me if there's a hockey match or a football game or a basketball game, but the Tour de France is on right now. And so if you want to go to Europe or France, and they won't let you in physically, but you can see some pretty great scenery as a helicopter flies around and watch these guys ride their bikes. So
That's so
it's good
cool.
to have something kind of normal.
George,
Yes.
where can you see that? Is it on a TV channel?
Oh, you're on mute.
It's on a cable channel called NBCSN.
It's NBC Sports Network.
Yeah, NBC Sports Network.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Certainly.
All right. Who else is happy? Happy that?
Come on, the club needs the money.
I'll do another one. We had our stuff fall through, and this is the second time that Matt has graciously stepped in. The first time he was actually not scheduled to speak as well. He stepped in when we had a speaker not be able to, and this is his second time. So kudos to Matt for always having Sunrise at the forefront of his brain.
Nice. And I'll give one. My freshman just started playing. Well, he played football in middle school, but he's now a high school football player for Holland Hall. And Holland Hall beat Cassia Hall 49-0 on Friday night. It was a blowout. And my son got playtime at the end. So it was a big night.
Well, I've got a happy buck.
All right.
And my happy buck is that the kitten that, I don't know if I told you guys, but I'm sure I did, that we found a kitten in the middle of the street. And the kitten, we still haven't figured out if it's a boy or a girl. So the poor thing still doesn't have a name after 3 weeks. But he or she is growing, and we're having more fun with this little tiny thing that is sleeping outside my office right now. And you know, it's just brought some joy to our family, which has really been fun. And, you know, in these times, we need a little fun, and we just kind of needed a little kitten. So I think somebody put that kitten in the road for a reason. So we're really enjoying our kitten. And if she wakes up, you'll get to see her.
I got a name for her.
Oh, what is it?
You could call it COVID. That's non-generic.
Something that way I don't have to ever forget it, right?
Yes. Or 2020, or you could call her Sunrise. Sunny.
Oh, I like that.
All right. Any more? Okay. Do you want me to, Barbara, do you want me to do the joke first, or do you want to go into our introductions? I can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead and do your joke, and then I'll.
Okay. All right, here we go. Hopefully this isn't too long for everybody. All right, so this is in honor of the fair not happening. So we're going to pretend like we're going to the fair this year. Ed and his wife, Norma, faithfully go to the state fair every year, and every year, Ed would plead, Norma, I'd like to ride that helicopter. Frugal Norma would always sternly reply, I know, Ed, but that helicopter ride is $50, and $50 is $50. After years of failed attempts, one year, Ed and Norma went to the fair, and an exasperated Ed begged, Norma, I'm 78 years old. If I don't ride that helicopter, I might never get another chance. So, unflappable Norma, with hands on her hips, replied, Ed, that helicopter ride is $50, and $50 is $50. The pilot overheard the couple and said, folks, I'll make you a deal. I'll take you both for a ride if you can stay quiet for the entire ride and don't say a word. I won't charge you a penny. But if you say one word, it's $50. Ed and Norma looked at one another with a nod and said, yes, we'll do it. The pilot did all kinds of fancy maneuvers, but not a word was heard. He did his daredevil tricks over and over again, but not a word. And when they landed, the pilot turned to Ed and said, by golly, I did everything I could to get you to yell out, but you didn't. I'm so impressed. And Ed replied, well, to tell you the truth, I almost said something when Norma fell out, but you know, $50 is $50.
That's a good one. That's good. That's good. Okay, let me go back here. Thank you. And we have some guests this morning who have been with us before. We have Laura Garrett and Brendan Harvey, and both of them are interested in Sunrise. And in normal times, they would come to several meetings and they would get to be upfront and personal and meet everybody. These are not normal times. So I asked each of them if they would just give an introduction, maybe 2 or 3 minutes about themselves, so we could get to know a little bit more about them. So Laura, I have you first only because I think alphabetically you're probably first. So if you would go up and give us a little bit about yourself, that would be great.
Sure. I'm very excited to be here again this morning. I'm a 3rd generation Rotarian. My grandfather was in downtown Oklahoma City Rotary, and my dad was a president at the Northwest Club in Oklahoma City. And I joined Kingfisher Rotary many, many years ago, and then moved to El Reno Rotary, where I was at Redlands Community College for many, many years. And then for the last few years, I've been at Club 29 in downtown Oklahoma City. My fiance and I moved here to Tulsa a year ago, so I have a +1, and I teach psychology at Tulsa Community College on the Southeast campus, and I'm actually teaching live this semester, so that's been an interesting phenomenon. Stan is retired as of October. He was an engineer, a civilian engineer at Tinker, working on the B2. So we live down at University Club, which we love, and we're very, very happy with Tulsa. I have 2 children. My oldest is an orchardist, so she grows apples in upstate New York, or the Hudson Valley region, I'm supposed to say. She says it's not upstate, but I don't know my New York. And Rob, my son, it should be a sophomore at USC Southern California, but took a semester of personal leave because of the online situation. So he's out in LA actually working for a political campaign in the hopes that they'll go back live in the spring. So we'll see about that. And I spent this past weekend picking out a puppy. So a puppy is coming to our realm, but actually will end up at Sarah's, my daughter's, eventually. So I think that's a good general look. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
Anybody has any questions, just put them in the chat room, and we'll monitor, and Megan will monitor that as Sergeant at Arms. So I'm glad to hear more about you, Lauren. I'm glad that you attended, and I'm glad that you gave us a presentation today, and look forward to seeing you continually on our meetings. Brendan, would you introduce yourself? And I didn't check. Perhaps Brendan is not on the call this morning. Well, if he joins later, then we'll have him give a little intro to himself. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody.
Okay. I sent him the link, and maybe he didn't get in. We'll go forward. Okay. Next, oops. VJ, do you want to talk a little bit about this? This is Bill Bowen's under community service, but VJ has organized this for the food delivery for the people who don't have food. So VJ?
This Saturday, we're having it's from Go Fresh. I've arranged to have 22 pallets. It's about 2,000 cases of food. They're going to bring it to the warehouse on Saturday morning between 8 and 10. I've got it scheduled to give it away between 10 and 2, although chances are we'll probably give most of it away before 1 o'clock. I need to know how many people I can count on to show up. I need at least 10. This is a joint effort with Sand Springs. Sand Springs is going to bring about, can you hear me, Ellie? Sand Springs is going to bring about 10 people themselves. And I just want to find out how many people from Sunrise is going to be able to show up and help out. We're going to be working outside. So nobody's going to be inside. So you can still wear your mask or not wear your mask depending on your comfort level. Where we're going to be giving food away. We're going to have cars come in from 12th Street up, pull into the warehouse, drive between the buildings, get their food. We're going to be putting food in their cars. Nobody's going to get out of their cars. We're going to drop in their cars and send them on their way. And hopefully we can hopefully we'll be able to give away about 2,000 boxes in just a few hours. So I need to know about how many people is going to show up. You can either let me know, or if you can put it in the chat room, just type in your name in the chat room and say, I'll be there. That will tell everybody how many people we actually have. But I need at least 10.
BJ,
Yes, ma'am.
because of my back injury, I can't do heavy lifting. Is there anything I can do that doesn't require me to lift a big box of food?
You direct traffic.
Oh, I can do that. All right, I'll be there.
You can sit there and wave them on and yell at them.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
BJ, it's Janet Teague. I'll be there, and I'm gonna ask Scott if he wants to come with me.
Okay.
BJ,
Yes, ma'am.
I'll be there. Carolyn. Do you hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Are you gonna bring your significant other?
Oh, I doubt if he'll come. I think he's playing tennis.
Oh. Well, that
Thank
gives
you.
us about five so far.
Well, we'll send out a blast as well and get to see people who aren't on the call today would like to come and help. Thank you. You know, in times like this, it's difficult to find areas where we can actually serve the community. And this is one where we can do it, we can be safe, and we can really fill a need. So thank you, VJ. Appreciate it. Okay.
And Mike, you can come and not have to wear your mask. You can direct traffic. We can put you down on one of the corners. You can just sit and direct traffic without your mask on if you want.
Thank you. Okay, we got a couple of other opportunities where we can help out. Jinx Community Food Bank, Bill has talked with them. The third Saturday of every month, they need 3 people. So you can call, text, or email Bill Bowen. If we have more people than 3, then we'll just rotate the months. But they are starting to deliver food again, and they would like help from our Rotary group. Tulsa Hills Youth Ranch also has a workday scheduled October 10th, 9 o'clock. It'll be outdoors, distancing. I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing. I would imagine, since they haven't been operating for a while, that they have a lot of things that need worked on and fixed up and cleaned up. So please let Bill Bowen know if that's something that you would like to do. Lindsay House, you know, we've supported Lindsay House in a number of different ways. They have children at Lindsay House and they need some school supplies. There is a link, I believe, in this week's fundraiser where you can go out, click on the link, it will take you to Amazon. And there are a number of things down there that are listed on the Amazon page that they need. Things like basic things like paper and pencils and things like that to go back to school. So even if they're not going in person to school, they still need those supplies at home. So please consider them when you're out there tooling around on the internet. KIPP again is, I think this is continuing even now to get the high school ready, even though they're not in person yet. So think about Wednesdays from 9 to 4, contact Jesse and go out and help get that school ready for the kids when they come back. International service. This is one that Gifty has been doing, Gifty and Comey and VJ and Mike Bibby and myself. There is a link, you can go out to GoFundMe, and I believe it works in the fundraiser. I checked it this week, it does work. You can go out. This is to help immunize children in Cameroon. And we've got all the supplies. We just need money to help get the shipment over there. So anything you can give will be useful. It doesn't have to be a lot of money, but if a lot of people give just a little money, we can get that container over there. So thank you very much. As my usual, I've been tracking the numbers, and you can see right now, and I don't know if this is because people are going back to school or what, but our COVID numbers are going up, and I've added a 7-day average. That's also going up. And until that goes back down again, I'm not comfortable with us meeting in person at the Marriott unless I'm overruled. So if I'm overruled, we can do that. But we'll talk about that at our board meeting on Monday night. But with those numbers going back up again, I am just not real cool about that. We are having our board meeting on Monday night at the Marriott, and we've already done it in person once before, and we can space ourselves out. And it works really well. We had a nice time. So if you're interested in joining the board meeting and seeing some people in person, just let me know so we can make sure we have room for you. Okay, now this is something we're going to do to just test your eyeballs. We're going to have a little fun. Every week we will look at the fundraiser, as we always do before the meeting, And the Sharp Eyes will win a $5 Starbucks card that will be given out at our first in-person meeting. Your job is to find the mistake in the fundraiser. So read your fundraiser, find the mistake, and when we log on to the meeting, enter that mistake in the chat room, and the first person that finds the correct mistake, is that right, a correct mistake, will get the $5 Starbucks card, and we will announce that each week. So keep your eyes peeled. In fact, there was one this week, and if anybody happened to see it, and they can go ahead and put it in the chat room if they saw it and they know what it is, go for it. So that'll be a little bit of something different. Okay, Cole, I'm going to stop sharing and take it to you now so you can introduce or talk about yourself first, then you can introduce our speaker.
Well, I think most of you guys know me. There are a few new people here. I was also ROD probably 2 months ago as well. So I'm going to be pretty quick on my own introduction because Matt has a pretty good bio that I'd like to read you guys. I work for Moore Holdings, which is actually Matt's father's company. So I've worked with Matt quite a bit in the last couple of years. I was a part of Rotaract from 2015 up until the end of this last fiscal year. I joined Sunrise in May of last year, but had kind of been in a little honorary tag-along for about 2 years before that. I volunteer with Ducks Unlimited as well, and I have a 5-year-old who started kindergarten. So that's a very brief bio on me. So I'm going to jump into Matt's, Matt's bio. And I'm actually going to read his because it's very, very well written and it gives a lot of detail. And last time we didn't have the time to properly introduce Matt because we were running behind on time. So I'm going to start with that. Matt Moore is a born servant leader who sees a world full of unlimited possibilities. Some might classify him as an idealist, others might view him as unrealistic. But the truth is, to do something great in life, you must first see the world for what it could be and not for what it is. At a young age, he has become a leading visionary and cultural leader for his generation, the millennial generation. Matt is a man of faith, a successful business owner, author, speaker, television producer, and community leader. If someone were to ask him to describe his calling in life, he would say he has been called to use his gifts in leadership and communication to become an agent of hope and a catalyst for changing the culture in a Christ-like manner. Some of his accomplishments have come from his businesses and his nonprofit work in the city of Tulsa. In 2013, Matt's former business won a Gold Maxi and Platinum Maxi Award for the Direct Marketing Association of Washington. Since 2011, Matt has served as the president of the nonprofit group Young Businessmen of Tulsa. YBT is a group dedicated to connecting, inspiring, and developing young business leaders to find and pursue their purpose. In just a handful of years, Matt has helped YBT raise well over $145,000 for community projects and produced a weekly television show aired twice a week on KGEB TV in Tulsa. In 2016, Matt was awarded the Next Gen 30 Under 30 Award by the Governor of Oklahoma. That is an award that recognizes Oklahoma's best and brightest under the age of 30. His interest in cryptocurrency led him to help author some of the first pro-cryptocurrency bills introduced into the Oklahoma State Legislature in 2019. In addition for his outstanding service to the community, Matt has received recognition from both the House and Senate of Oklahoma Legislature and a certificate of congressional recognition from former Congressman and current NASA Administrator Jim Bridenstine. In 2016, Bridenstine was also awarded YBT the Nonprofit and the Spotlight Award. Matt's ideas and writings have been published in the Tulsa Business and Legal News, a daily journal of commerce for the Tulsa World newspaper. Matt is a genuinely curious individual who's always looking to learn. As an avid self-learner, his favorite topics and interests are liberty, faith, business, economics, and any form of communication. His hobbies include politics and consulting people about cryptocurrencies and sound money. He can be described as a type of serial social entrepreneur and will use any platform he has been given to inspire, motivate, and ignite positive Christ-like change. I've worked with Matt now for the last couple of years, and I've been able to visit his group, YBT, and I thoroughly enjoy listening to him speak. He's very passionate, and I think you guys will enjoy what he talks about today. At his last presentation to us, we had more questions about cryptocurrency than we did about his actual presentation. So I'm excited for him to speak today because I know quite a few of us were interested in it. So I'm gonna hand it over to Matt and mute myself.
Awesome. Thank you, Cole. I appreciate it. I'm actually excited to talk to you guys because, like she said, last time I was here, I was in person, but I was having a different presentation, and based off of the stuff from my bio, when I finished, there were so many questions about cryptocurrency that I was like, wow, I should have just come and talk about that. So I'm sure most of you have probably heard the word cryptocurrency, or you've heard the word Bitcoin. And I'm here to kind of dehaze some of the things or questions that you might have. So I would love to open up some questions at the end, but I do have a presentation along with some visuals, which are some videos. So at any point, if the internet connection on my end doesn't seem like it's sharing my screen very well, please let me know. But I find that it's much easier when I do this presentation to share some visuals because it can be a complex topic to cover. So I'm going to try to stay at a 30,000 foot view and try to keep it in a layman's terms. So I'm not gonna get super technical, but technical enough that you would understand how this technology works and what's essentially coming down the road. Let me go ahead and do a screen share here, set up and make sure this works. All right, so it's asking for a password for the screen share. Does anybody have that?
Well, we haven't had that before.
Oh, there it goes. Oh, it worked.
There you go. Okay.
We got it. Awesome. Let's see here. Let's go to play. Okay. So the question is, what is cryptocurrency? Cryptocurrency can be digital money. It can also be digital representation of any form of an asset. Cryptocurrency uses encryption and a technology called blockchain. Cryptocurrency is built on blockchain, and blockchain is simply, to put simply, is a decentralized ledger distributed across thousands or millions of computers around the world. Cryptocurrency is essentially smart programmable money that improves security, settlements, and transaction speeds without the need of a bank or a middleman. Now, this video that I've got here, this first video, is actually describing how blockchain actually works. So this is just a couple minutes long. I'm going to share this with you guys. Hopefully this will play and share the sound as well. If you don't hear anything on the video, please let me know, either in the chat box or by saying something.
What is blockchain technology and how does it work? Put simply, cryptocurrency is built on blockchain technology. It's like the infrastructure crypto runs on. For simplicity, I'll use Bitcoin as an example. Each Bitcoin wallet has both a public key and a private key. These are very similar to an address. The public address is used for receiving Bitcoin, and the private key gives you access to your funds, similar to the act of withdrawals to an account. The Bitcoin network is made up of thousands of computers all around the world running the same Bitcoin program or ledger at the same time. Imagine each computer being like an old-fashioned ledger book recording transactions. Each page of transactions could be considered a block. Put those blocks together and you have a blockchain. Essentially, what happens when a transaction is broadcasted to the network, it's placed into a pool of unconfirmed transactions. Then, computers from all around the world will gather some of these transactions and place them in their own blocks. A new block is added to the blockchain when a computer on the network wins the right to add its block to the chain by becoming the first one to successfully solve a very complex mathematical equation. This process happens every 10 minutes. When the winning computer does does this, it gets rewarded with newly minted Bitcoin. This process is called mining for Bitcoin and requires a lot of computer hardware and energy to do so. The other computers who did not solve the equation first must put their blocks of transactions back into the pool of unconfirmed transactions and update their ledger with the winning block. This process happens every 10 minutes, and the entire network of computers are validating each other and coming to consensus. The network is the most secure computer network in the world due to its combined computing power. The only way that a blockchain can be compromised is if somebody has 51% of the combined computing power of the entire network. In 2014 alone, the Bitcoin network had more computing power than the top 500 supercomputers combined, and it's only continued to grow since then. This, my friends, is how blockchain technology works, and it's going to change everything.
All right, can anybody tell me if they heard that video and everything was good?
Yes, I heard it. It was fine.
Okay, great. Just wanted to make sure because I've got some other videos I'm going to share. And as you know, I like to make videos in my car, so please don't judge me. But I also have a website, and so if you see stuff as I go through this presentation, cryptomore.com. I have a YouTube channel under that name, and I create weekly, if not, several videos a week about this technology and about Bitcoin. So if you want to do any further learning down the road, I would highly recommend you go check out my website and watch these videos. But the real question is, why is Bitcoin money? Why can it be considered a form of money? And Bitcoin essentially shares the same properties of gold, but is more superior in its portability, divisibility, and limited nature. Bitcoin's monetary policy is known in advance and is predictable. It has a limited supply built into the code. Only 21 million will ever exist. And it's divisible by 8 decimal points. So each coin is divisible by 8 decimal points. It's an apolitical money tied to no nation, person, or company. It's a decentralized free market technology controlled by nobody. It's the world's largest, most secure, decentralized ledger built for a digital age. And Bitcoin is both a money and a payment network. And I think the important thing that we need to realize when we talk about the evolution of a new asset class or something like Bitcoin that is becoming money, is money has an evolution. It goes through stages where first it's a collectible, then it becomes a store of value, then it becomes a medium of exchange, and then finally it becomes a measure of value. And essentially, Bitcoin has entered this store of value type mentality in the minds of people. And yes, it does have the properties of money, which I'll list and talk about here in a minute through a video. But it's really fascinating because this is the first time in our lifetime, and probably in multiple generations, where we've had a new asset class similar or like Bitcoin coming to the world stage. And governments and central banks are all trying to get into this game and are all trying to implement technology like this because they realize that this technology is so disruptive that central banks, if they don't hop on this bandwagon, then essentially this technology will go around them. And essentially we'll have two ecosystems rise up at the same time, one that's decentralized and one that is centralized by a government or central bank. So there will be competition in money. There will be separation of state and money. And I think in the long run, this is going to produce great things, great results. But I wanted to go ahead and move forward with this next video to kind of give you an example of a little bit more in-depth explanation of why this is happening. And this is currency versus money. So most people don't realize the difference between currency and money, and this video will share the differences.
A lot of times we don't know the difference. Many people don't know the difference between what is money and what is actually currency and what makes them different. Because in that scenario, in those explanations and in that understanding, it tells us a lot about our world. It tells us a lot about our freedom and the foundations that this world is built on. In fact, money is such an important topic. apart from salvation, it's one of the most important topics in my mind that we could learn about, that we could understand, because money represents our freedom, it represents our time, it represents our wealth and our energy. And these things, the only thing that's truly scarce in this world is our time and our energy. And if the system in which we are using is enslaving us, is the chains to our freedom, to our energy, to our time, then it is a injustice. It is wrong, because the system we use is not what our founding fathers set us up to use in the beginning, due to what they learned through this process. But when I hold these up and I say, what's the difference between money and a currency? Well, currency is like the flow of energy. It's like the flow of our output, of our ability. And a lot of times we make the mistake for using it as a store of value. And the only difference that makes between a money and a currency really comes down to these core traits, which is both of them are a medium of exchange. Both are a unit of account. Both are portable, durable, and they're also divisible and fungible. In other words, they can be interchangeable. The only difference between a currency and a money is store of value. See, things like silver and gold and Bitcoin, to be specific, they are limited in supply. There's only so much of it that can actually be made, that can actually be mined, that's in existence. It's hard money. It's a hard asset. These things, currency, pieces of paper, they're admitted and borrowed. Our government borrows this from a central bank, which has shareholders, which they earn 6% off of loaning money to the American government, which this money is then printed into existence or created into existence out of thin air. So essentially what happens is, if you borrow the first dollar into existence and you owe interest on that dollar from that central bank, where are you going to get the second dollar to pay for that interest? Well, you have to continue to borrow again. So it's a perpetual system of debt that requires more and more spending. And that's why this talk of balanced budgets and paying down our debt, with the system that we have, it is not a likely scenario or a plausible scenario, because what happens is there's always more debt than there is currency in the system. So if you make any substantial effort to pay down the debt, that whole system collapse in a deflationary collapse. So the only option they have is to continually spend and to continually borrow and go deeper into debt and hyperinflate the money to where the money continues to lose value, or I should say the currency loses value. Again, this piece of paper, the US dollar, or the AKA Federal Reserve note, because this is really constitutionally not what a dollar is supposed to be, it has lost 98% of its purchasing power. Back in the 60s and 50s, when people were actually paid with real money, real silver quarters, they were paid $1.25 an hour. I know that sounds crazy, but guess what? If you take this silver today and you take that melt value, though that $1.25 that they earned in silver, and you melt that down, the melt value of that is greater than $17 now. So it's very evident that wages are not keeping up with prices, with inflation, because as the money supply continues to increase, the marketplace realizes that there's more money in the system, so prices have to rise. And so if you're holding this stuff in the bank and all your assets are in dollars, well then your wealth is going to be eaten alive. There's a reason why $20 worth of groceries in 1998 could have bought you a full cart of groceries, versus where today we go to the store and we need at least $100 to have a full cart of groceries. This is just one example of rising prices and inflation, and the simple fact that wages are not keeping up with this. We are being robbed. And here's insult to injury, is that we pay taxes, okay? We spend more of our time, more of our energy, and we pay these taxes to the government. Well, the government who borrowed this money from a central bank, okay, that created it out of nothing, who earns 6% off of this money each year, what happens is we pay our taxes and we have to pay back that bank. The government has to pay back the central bank in the interest that's owed. Okay, so that is even more of a Ponzi scheme. It's even more of a fraud. And so I would say, how are you storing your money? How are you making sure that you're going to be set for the future? Because historically, all fiat paper currencies have never lasted the test of time. They always go to zero. And we went through it already once in America. When we had the Continental Dollar during the American Revolutionary War, we printed that and hyperinflated that to oblivion because we wanted to pay for the war against the British. But nobody wanted to take those dollars anymore. That's why we came up with the phrase, it's not worth a Continental Dollar. So the founding fathers knew that this was important, to be able to have a form of money that holds and sustains its value. And that's why in the Constitution they wrote that only gold and silver could be considered as money. So the dollar was actually a measurement of actual silver and gold. And now today we have abandoned that in the 70s. In the 1970s, when Nixon fully took us off the gold standard and by definition became a true fiat currency, essentially what happened is the dollar became an instrument, a complete instrument of debt. And now we are on a timeline. Every fiat currency usually does not exist past 50 years of existence. I mean, there are a couple of scenarios where they've gone longer, but at the end of the day, they all fail. So what makes us think that the U.S. or the Federal Reserve note that's printed from the central bank or created from the central bank, what makes us think it's going to be any different? Okay, what makes us think that this $20 is going to have the same buying power 20 years from now as it does today? Because history is a guide, guys. The money keeps losing value. We're getting to the end of the timetable. Okay, not only that, but the dollar has been the world reserve currency. Countries have been required to hold dollars, to buy oil, to use it in international trade. We have tried to create a demand for dollars, and that's been our number one export. But as soon as this gig is up, all these dollars are going to come home to roost, and we're going to have hyperinflation that's just going to go out of control. The next financial crisis that we're going to have, whether it's a recession or depression, the only answer that they have is to lower interest rates, either to negative interest rates, which is another story, which is ridiculous. Parts of the world are doing it, or they're gonna print more money, quantitative easing. What are you putting your faith in? Are you putting your faith in a piece of paper, or something that actually has intrinsic value, or is limited in supply? Bitcoin, cryptocurrency, whole other topic. I'm just talking about a general idea here. But I'm talking about all this because I'm passionate about it. I think it's an injustice that the American people are being robbed of their wealth, not just through the taxation to pay back a central bank that's creating money out of thin air and earning a profit off of it, but also the simple fact that people, they're not keeping up with inflation. I mean, if you keep your money in the bank, you'd be lucky to get 2% interest on that money in the bank. And the Federal Reserve has come out and said that every single year their goal is 2% inflation. That means that they're going to take away 2% of the value of the money that you're actually holding every single year. It just doesn't make sense, guys. You need to do your homework. You need to learn the difference, because your freedom, your wealth, your time, and your energy depends on it. I don't want to see you robbed. I don't want to see you in a challenging situation in the future, because we are going to have hard economic times. We have a lot of things converging in today's society when it comes to monetary history, and things don't look pretty. But if you position yourself in the right way, you can position yourself for the greatest wealth transfer the world has ever seen. This giant bubble of liquidity that's been created worldwide. When people lose confidence in it, when this thing bursts, all this liquidity is going to go racing to limit it to hard assets limited into supply, so they can try to preserve their purchasing power. Gold and silver has maintained its purchasing power for thousands of years. You can take the same amount of silver, the same amount of gold, and buy almost the equivalent of goods and services as it did back in ancient Egypt. So what money are you using? What money are we using as a country? Is it a good store of value over a long period of time? I can tell you these do not.
So after that video, you might be thinking, okay, well, if gold and silver and Bitcoin are such great money, why aren't we using it now? And the truth is, there's a principle and an idea out there called Gresham's Law. And the idea behind Gresham's Law is that when you have in circulation, both good money and bad money, one being a greater store of value. People will actually hoard the money that will increase and appreciate in value as time goes on, and they will keep the bad money, the lesser money that loses value into circulation because you don't want to hang on to that money. And that will continue to happen until everybody continues to lose complete faith and confidence in the Federal Reserve note. And essentially, money is a game of faith and confidence. So much of the stuff that we see coming out of the Federal Reserve, or what we see coming out of the media, or even sometimes what we hear coming out of the White House is much of propaganda, just because most of our security as a nation, as our economic powerhouse, comes from the security and belief in the money system that we have now. But as you can tell, since the coronavirus, which much of these videos I made happened, or was before the whole coronavirus pandemic, and I was advising and predicting that we were due for a correction, recession, depression, whatever you want to call it. I just didn't know it was going to come through a black swan event with the coronavirus. And sure enough, my predictions with quantitative easing, lowering interest rates, cash giveaways, they all manifested in this time period. And in fact, you know, with the $6 trillion plus that were created into existence during this time period, typically the inflation of those dollars, or those added dollars, we won't typically see the changes in the prices in the marketplace 18 to 24 months. So I would suspect, you know, here in the near future, we will continue to see prices rise because the marketplace will continue to adjust and realize that there's more money in circulation. However, it is important to realize, you know, when we talk about Bitcoin being hard money or sound money, it's really hard for people to wrap their mind around it because all they know is that it's digital money. And digital money, people they work with digital information all the time. So they're used to copying and pasting digital information on their computers or on their phones. And they have a hard time thinking, okay, well, how can Bitcoin be limited in supply if I'm always copying, pasting, and creating digital money? Can it be, you know, created out of willy-nilly, just like the Federal Reserve note? And the answer is no, because of that decentralized ledger system that I shared in the video prior. There is a code in the system that basically dictates how many Bitcoin will come into existence. And by the year 2140, the last Bitcoin will be mined by these computers and on this network. And essentially, the only way theoretically that you could ever increase the money supply of Bitcoin is if you got these thousands, if not millions of computers who are securing and running this network and mining for Bitcoin to agree, 94% of them, if you got 94% of them to agree to change the code and implement this code, then theoretically the supply could be changed. However, you're talking about getting thousands, if not millions of people in the future to agree on that and to be on the same page. Now, if you are spending lots of energy, electricity, power, spending money on computer hardware to mine this stuff and to create it into existence, there is a economic and financial incentive for you not to want to change the supply of Bitcoin because it actually would devalue your holdings. So there is a safeguard in there, and it's quite a high standard in order to even change that. But essentially, why is the world embracing things like Bitcoin? Well, first and foremost, you'll hear people trading it. So the first obvious one is people want to make profits. So you'll find a lot of people day trading or trend trading. Number two, it's a non-correlated asset to traditional markets. And Bitcoin has only been around for about 11 years, but for most of its history, it has been not correlated to the stock market, and here recently has been more correlated to the movements of gold and silver. And even billionaires like Tim Draper and Paul Tudor Jones, who is a Wall Street legend, recently came out and said, hey, you know what? I believe Bitcoin's going to be the fastest horse in the race when it comes to preserving your purchasing power, protecting yourself from inflation. You've got people like George Ball, who's also a Wall Street legend, coming out and who was originally opponent to things like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is now jumping on the bandwagon. And you've got a lot of institutions like Fidelity, BlackRock. Financial money is coming into this space. So it is fascinating to watch as this comes about. But as I said, number 3, it's a hedge against a falling and finite fiat money system. It's decentralized and controlled by nobody. Essentially, it can be unconfiscatable by simply memorizing a seed phrase in your head. It's an open source system that provides trust. Essentially, it's a system of consensus. It's the internet of value. Essentially, it's a peer-to-peer network. Bitcoin's going to do for money what the internet did for information. Essentially, it's 1994, and people are it's the most, can you guys hear me? I don't know if you guys, my computer froze up there. All right. It's the most secure computer network in the world, utility value. It's 10 years, it's been 10 years since its existence, or over 11 now. It's never been hacked. It's the hardest form of money in the world. Essentially, we know the supply of gold, or we have a rough estimate of what's above ground and below ground with gold and silver. Bitcoin, we absolutely know for a fact that only 21 million will ever exist. It's essentially the world's first global money. It's permissionless. I don't need to provide any personal information to utilize the network. Most people are utilizing right now exchanges where they do have to share their personal information, but there are ways to utilize the network without that. And you don't need permission to mine it or to download the software in order to run a full version of the ledger. It has a first mover advantage, basically has a network effect. And number 12, which also I think is very important, it's essentially a apolitical money birthed by the free market. So you might be thinking, okay, well, all these things are great, Matt, but what are central bankers saying? What are governments saying? And so in these next 2 short videos that I'm going to share, I just want to show you what world leaders are saying about this stuff.
On the digital currency, we have set up a task force, and we will accelerate the effort of this task force. My personal conviction is that given the developments we're seeing, not so much in the Bitcoin segment, but in the stablecoins projects, and we only know of one at the moment, but there are others being explored and underway at the moment, we'd better be ahead of the curve. Even cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Ripple are vying for a spot in the cashless world, constantly reinventing themselves in the hope of offering more stable value and quicker and cheaper settlement.
What kind of threat does this pose to the traditional banking system?
Well, I think you have incumbents, the banks, commercial banks, and you have the disruptors. And clearly the disruptors are having an impact on the incumbents.
Okay, so I have a whole bunch of other stuff to share, but since we only have about 6 minutes left in the whole presentation time, I want to go ahead and scrap the rest of my presentation because essentially what I was just going to do was just going to share with you current trends and developments and just give you a summary of what I essentially just talked about. But let's go ahead and open up for questions because I do want to leave time for that. So I know a lot of you probably have some questions.
Hey, Matt, I'm going to start out with the ones that are in the chat box already.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm getting to the first one. So Don Wasson asked, does this technology lead us to more globalization?
Okay, so if you're talking about a globalization in which is forced or authorized in a centralized manner, it can be. That is, if the system that is being utilized by governments or by people in general, or if we as the population blindly accept this technology from a central bank or a government, or let's say a centralized global authority, then yes, it can very much be that. However, just like any technology, whether it's a gun or whether it's the internet, it can be used for freedom or it can be used for oppression. And as long as people have the personal and individual choice in what money that they use and which cryptocurrency that they use, if it's a decentralized system controlled by nobody, essentially it is a internet system or a internet of value that individuals like myself and you can use and transact with people across the world without permission. The beautiful thing about Bitcoin is nobody can stop the transaction. There's no government that can stop the transaction in its tracks. So if I have a missionary friend who's in Iran, or a missionary friend who's in Russia, or a missionary friend who's in North Korea, and they have access to a cryptocurrency wallet, essentially I can send them value over the internet, and then they can convert that into their local currency wherever they are, and I won't be taxed or penalized or even prevented by sending that value or that money to that person. So like I said, it can be used for both oppression and liberty.
Thank you. Martelo says, my son uses what he calls, for me, so I understand, a virtual bank. Is this the same thing?
Well, it depends on what his definition of a virtual bank is, but essentially there is a motto in the cryptocurrency space called "Be Your Own Bank." And cryptocurrency does do that. It requires personal responsibility because you're essentially taking full custody over these assets and over this digital information. And if you're not very good with passwords or C phrases and really sensitive information like that, then a lot of people will opt in for a custodian service. But he could be talking about that if that's what he means.
Jim Milburn says, how is fraud controlled? Is there a need for general security?
Okay, so give me a definition of what kind of fraud you're first and foremost scared about.
Jim, would you like to answer that?
Manipulation, Matt.
Manipulation in the money supply or manipulation in people stealing money out of your wallet?
I don't know. You tell me your perspective, because
okay,
it's hard to toggle from current system to futuristic.
Sure. Okay, so if you are being your own bank and you are your own custodian and you're managing your money, and you essentially fall for a scam or fall for a phishing attempt, and you send money to somebody that you realize, oh wait, I was just scammed, or this was fraudulent, essentially there's no way to right now reverse that transaction. However, that's why you have to be intentional and do your homework. Whereas with the centralized system, they can always reverse transactions, cancel transactions, stop transactions. So there is a trade-off when you become sovereign over your own money, and when you're using a system that can't be controlled by the government, you have to essentially realize that there are consequences that ensue when you are taking personal responsibility over your actions. However, when it comes to your wallet being hacked, if you have what they call a hot wallet that's on a computer or on a phone, and you store most of your money in that, and you don't take computer security and internet security seriously, then there are opportunities for hackers to jump into your system, and then whenever you jump onto your computer and you enter that personal information, that can be stolen. However, if you're using what we call a cold storage wallet, which is not connected to the internet, and you only connect it to the internet when you use it, then it is actually really, really secure and safe. So I see a world in which, like I said, this stuff is unconfiscatable. It's the first time that money can be unconfiscatable. If you look in the dictionary, the word unconfiscatable is not actually in there. And that's because we've always had means of stealing stuff from people. But with a Bitcoin wallet, if you memorize what they call a seed phrase, which is basically 12 or 24 words, which basically back up your wallet, if you memorize that, you could throw away all your, your records of your cryptocurrency, and then jump on an airplane and then travel to another country, buy another wallet, enter in that seed phrase, and then have access to your funds again. It's really revolutionary. However, I don't always advise people to do that, because if you can't memorize your seed phrase, then you basically lost full access to your money. So then again, it comes down to personal responsibility. However, as we move into this world with this technology, banks will essentially evolve to become custodians of this, because a lot of people are not going to feel secure and safe enough to be custodians over their own money.
So Steve Kerr says, seems like this provides an unlimited source of untraceable funding for terrorist organizations. Are there any safeguards?
So, okay, so a lot of people think cryptocurrency is primarily used for terrorist activities. However, I would argue that point in saying that the number one tool and asset used for terrorism is actually fiat paper dollars. And criminals prefer paper dollars because they are untraceable in many respects, and there's a lot of liquidity in there. So the amount of malicious or nefarious activity done in cryptocurrency is quite small when you consider it to cash. And banks and governments do want to go to a cashless society, and one of their excuses will be so that we can keep people safe, and that we can trace and track every transaction so we can stop terrorism. However, I am not a big fan of that world, because just going back to that idea of a tool can be used for both good and bad. And if I don't have an option to exercise my liberty or my freedom to transact with whoever I want, whenever I want, or did we lose the meeting? Okay, no, we're still going. So I would much rather prefer an opportunity that we can have private money, and there are cryptocurrencies that are private, but most of them are partially anonymous. So as long as you don't have a personal ID associated to your wallet, you can say somewhat anonymous. However, cryptocurrencies, since it is on a blockchain, the transactions are more traceable than cash if you're using the right tools to untangle that web. And so it's kind of a mixed bag, whereas I think there will be privacy options in the future, but I also don't believe that the answer is going to be completely the use of a centralized system that can literally shut you out in a matter of minutes when you disagree politically, or they do something you don't like.
Matt, we're going to have to call it to a close. We're at 8 o'clock. We've had so many questions on here. We're going to look through, and I'm going to ask Cole to pick out a few that we did not have a chance to get addressed, and ask her to send them to you, and then we'll get answers to those from you and send them back out to the group. That's really been interesting. I'm just glad I'm not the one that had to take notes to put it in the Fundrise, because I don't think I could have kept up and done that. So thank you very, very much for your presentation this morning. It's been very interesting. Next week's speaker will be Lori McGinnis-Madlin, who is the Executive Director of Street School. So it'll be an interesting presentation. She's a very dynamic person and a lot of fun. So you will enjoy her very much. And I will close with my little saying. And as usual, I just pick these and they happen to fall. It's not political. Whoever is careless with truth in small matters cannot be trusted in important affairs. And that's from Albert Einstein. So with that, I will leave you, and we hope you enjoyed today's meeting. I'll look forward to seeing Ward on Monday night for our H3, our happy half hour, and then we'll have our board meeting at 6 at Marriott, and I'll see you all again next Wednesday. Thank you.
Barbara, remember to stick around so we can visit.
Oh yeah, I will. I will. I need to talk to Mike for a minute.
Huh?
I need to talk to Mike for a minute.
You want me to just go get us a table?
Well, you can do that. It'll just be a few minutes.
Do you want to, man, that 15 minutes turns into 20. You inside or outside?
whatever, I don't care. Okay, Mike, why don't you unmute? We'll go ahead and talk.
Okay, here's my idea. Tuesday night next Monday night when we have board meeting, I'll retrieve the coupons and the cards. And we'll announce to the club that anybody that wants to buy a Happy Buck, they have to send the money to me, not to the club post office box, but to me. Every dollar received by Tuesday night will go into the pot. I'll draw a coupon out of the pot, read the name. That person will then have an opportunity to pick a card, and I will have a list that I can prepare and put on the screen, share screen. They pick a number, I'll have all the cards numbered. So if they pick 25, I look for card 25. I show everybody what the card 25 is and go from there.
Okay, so you send them a coupon once they give you the money?
Yes, I write their name on the back of the coupon and put it in the hat.
Okay.
So you send me $5 and I get it before next Tuesday night. Then I put 5 coupons in with your name on it and then mix them up, draw one. And so when they virtually draw, they'll be simply choosing a number out of the
Right.
list that I have.
Okay.
And I'll have the cards all numbered so I can spread the cards out and say, okay, there's 25. And
Sure,
see if they win the pot.
let's try it. How about people who've already sent in money for Happy Bucks?
Nobody, we're talking about pot of gold, not Happy Bucks.
I'm sorry, pot of gold. Okay, got it.
The pot of gold sits at $298 right now and has not moved since we went virtual.
But our Happy Bucks go into pot of gold.
No. Happy Bucks go to the club.
Okay, I guess I thought they went in well, what goes in the pot of gold?
Pot of gold is money that people have bought tickets with.
Oh, you're right. Okay. I don't think I was aware of the distinction. Yeah, let's try that.
Okay.
Now, how are they going to send you the money? Is it like through Venmo or PayPal or what?
They're going to have to send me a check or cash in an envelope.
Well, they're not going to be able to get it to you by Tuesday night if we don't decide this till Monday.
I agree that it probably can't be started next week.
Okay, we'll do it the week after.
But what I'd like, with your permission, is to write up a description, put that in the fundraiser so that we can begin it the following week.
Okay, yeah, let's go ahead and try that. I don't think we need board approval to do that. Let's just do it.
Okay. Well, I'll retrieve the cards and the tickets Monday night when we're at the board meeting.
Okay. Yeah, and let's practice it and see how it works there.
There you go.
Okay.
If people are willing to put a few dollars in an envelope and send it to me, then
yeah,
then we could have some fun with it.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody's going to get the joker right off the bat. So
It doesn't matter if they do, because we just start the pot over again, and away we go.
Okay, that sounds good. I like your thinking about that.
Okay, I've been wrestling with it for a while, and I can't find an easier way to do it. Venmo and it's just not a practical way to do it.
Okay, sounds good. And I will see you Monday night with your write-up.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you for sticking around.
Yeah.
And we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Mike.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.